Okay, buenas everyone. It's 2:09 p.m. It's a Guam Ancestral Lands Commission meeting. In compliance with public law, well, this meeting's called to order. In compliance with Public Law 24-109, Guam Ancestral Lands Commission published the public meeting announcement for Friday, October 21st, 2022, and Guam Daily Post on Friday, October 14th, 2022, and Wednesday, October 19th, 2022. Director, roll call.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Chairman Eplavia,
Present.
Vice Chairman Laguarnia,
Yeah,
Secretary Treasurer Cruz,
Present.
Commissioner Camacho,
Here.
Commissioner Orlino,
Here.
Commissioner Rios,
here.
Commissioner Wessling. Mr. Chair, Commissioner Wessling sent us a note that she will be logging on in a couple of minutes. She's not logged on just yet, but you have a quorum. You have 6 members present.
Thank you, Director. Okay, let's move on to item number 3. Approval of minutes. A, September 14th, 2022, regular meeting summarization, and item B, September 29, 2022, special meeting summarization.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Wessling just logged in.
All right, buenas, Commissioner Wessling. Welcome.
Oh. She was on and
Yep.
I think she went off. There she is. She's back again. Okay, Commissioner Wessling, we can see you. Can you hear us? You're on mute.
Yes, I can hear. Thank
Okay.
you. Sorry for my tardiness.
It's okay, buenas and welcome. We're on the minutes. We just started on September 14th, and I believe the other one is September 29th minutes. By the way, Director
Yes,
Birch, yeah, I'd just like to clarify, we are conducting this meeting without a legal counsel, correct?
yes, Attorney Toff said that the AG's office was supposed to have assigned a fill-in for him. I don't see any attorney here from the AG's office, so I think we should be very careful. I'll try to keep you in line if anything gets, if I feel anything is going wrong.
Okay, very good. We just need
So
to,
yeah, I'm not an attorney, but I'll step into that slot. Hopefully we see someone from the AG's office key in soon enough.
okay, just wanted to make note of that, the fact that we are having this meeting without legal counsel.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion at this time.
Commissioner Cruz,
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes for September 14, 2022, subject to corrections per audio recordings.
okay, motion on the floor to approve the minutes of September 14, 2022. We have a second?
Second,
Is that Commissioner Camacho?
yes.
Okay, seconded by Commissioner Camacho. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
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 Any nays? No nays, motion passes.
Mr. Chair,
Okay, Commissioner Cruz,
I'd also like to make a motion to approve the minutes for September 29, 2022, subject to corrections per audio recordings.
okay, motion to approve the September 29 minutes. Do I have a second?
This is Commissioner Camacho. I'll second.
Okay, seconded by Commissioner Camacho. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any nays? Okay, I think I would have to abstain since I had internet problems and I dropped out for a while there, so I'll have to abstain, but the motion passes by a majority vote. Director?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. But I just like to advise you that it's not, that if you agree or disagree with the minutes, whether you were there or not, I mean, it sounds right to abstain, but for those who feel, I believe based on Robert's rules, you can still vote. Anyway, getting to the Executive Director's report.
Okay.
The Office of Insular Affairs awarded the Guam Ancestral Lands Commission a federal grant of $185,301. This is the Technical Assistant Program Grant, or TAP grant, for our IT infrastructure upgrade and modernization project as detailed in our proposal submitted in March 24, 2022. The grant award period is June 1 to 2022 through September 30, 2025. We recently received authorization to proceed with the IT infrastructure project from the U.S. Department of Interior. Kathy Bloss is assigned as the Ancestral Lands Project Manager for this project. The purpose of the project is for the Ancestral Lands to upgrade and modernize its IT infrastructure by procuring supplies, software and hardware, and professional services. That'll be to the digitization and website support as necessary to maintain operations and improve efficiencies. The commission works with limited staff to address hundreds of acres of excess federal properties pending transfer, with thousands of fragile land records pending digitization. To date, the commission has been able to scan only about 0.5% or 0.5% of the files, many of which are in poor condition and deteriorating due to insect damage and or time. The COVID-19 pandemic placed additional pressure on the commission to provide much needed services to the community and has highlighted IT shortfalls as the commission strives to digitize documents, conduct land ownership research while maintaining basic operation. Scanning and digitization of the commission's records is needed to meet basic agency objectives and to archive land records while they remain salvageable. Additionally, the IT support, website design services, and upgrade equipment will allow the commission to improve operations and establish its own website to provide service content and allow for greater information exchange, improve access points for community stakeholders, and provide greater transparency for commission activities. We are now in the process of preparing the RFP to send that all out. And once that is sent out, hopefully we'll get some bids on it and start our work of digitizing our files, which is a great step forward. Okay, and then the next item, on October 7, 2022, the Commission and the Office of the Public Auditor, the OPA, held a bid opening and reevaluation for RFP number GALC 22-001 for independent financial audit services. Our current auditor is pulling out of Guam, so the OPA required that we do this. So the Commission and the OPA is soliciting proposals from a U.S. certified public accountant firm for an audit of the Commission's Survey, Infrastructure, and Development Fund for fiscal years 2022, 2023, and 2024. Subject to the availability and certification of funds from fiscal year to fiscal year, with an option to renew for one additional year, with the approval of the public auditor as required by 1 GCA section 1908 subsection A. The public auditors shall annually audit or cause to be conducted post audits of all the transactions and accounts of all departments, offices, corporations, authorities, and agencies in all the branches of the government of Guam. The required audit reports include a report on the financial statements and reports on internal control and compliance. An oversight hearing for the proposed medical health campus was scheduled and was held last Tuesday, October 18 at 2 p.m. at the Guam Congress Building. Public hearing room by the Committee on Health, Land, Justice, and Culture. They requested commission to provide any planning, analysis, design contracts, site analysis, or proposed leases, allowing access to Eagles Field and the surrounding areas. The commission's involvement with the medical campus has been limited strictly to identifying the original landowners and the heirs of the site selected for the medical campus and sharing with them the intent to build the medical campus on their ancestral lands, and our assessment of the substantial impact U.S. Public Law 106-504 has in curtailing the prior practice of returning excess federal lands to the original landowners. So basically what was requested is we're not involved in, we're not a part of the task force. So we didn't have any of the files or documents that was requested, but we did attend, and so did Commissioner Lino, our chairman and our vice chairman, and from our own staff, Joey Leon Guerrero and Andy Mendiola. Okay, then attached for your review is the commission's bank account balances and fund balances. It's attachment A for your review. Those are the balances we have at Coast 360 and at Bank of Hawaii. Now there's a request for entry. It's an ROE for partial 7146. Madeline Martinez, she's the FUDS, the FUDS FUDS project manager for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Honolulu District. She's requesting to be granted a right of entry not to exceed 60 months for lot 7146, that's Hanum Jigul, also known as FUDS, or that's formerly used defense sites, Guam Area 101 Jigul. The intent is to investigate, collect samples, and if required, clean up potential contamination or munitions that may remain on this property from past Department of Defense activities. The DoD is responsible for the environmental restoration, that's the cleanup of properties that were formerly owned by the United States. The U.S. Army is DoD's lead agent for the FUDS program. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers executes the FUDS program on behalf of the U.S. Army and the Department of Defense. At issue is which government of Guam agency has jurisdiction over lot 7146. Lot 7146, along with lot 7100, 7102, and 7103 were unilaterally transferred by Governor Gutierrez to the commission without legislative approval. And according to Assistant Attorney General Nicholas Tuff, lot 7146 does not fall into any category whereby it would be automatically transferred to the commission by the mechanisms of Title 21 GCA Chapter 80. So the deeds are, according to Attorney Tuff, are likely invalid. They are 3 GovGuam agencies that may have jurisdiction over lot 7146. The Department of Parks and Recreation, the Guam Ancestral Lands Commission, and the Chamorro Land Trust Commission. To resolve the issue of jurisdiction, to allow the request for the right of entry for lot 7146, it was recommended to request approval from all 3 GovGuam agencies. Attorney Tuff is not with us today, but attached is attachment B is the location of the map. It's up north in Jigo. The area is known as Hanam. According to Attorney Tuff, to transfer any properties that are not specifically identified by our enabling act needs legislation to be transferred here to the commission. But for some reason, Governor Gutierrez felt it and took it on his part, on his own, to transfer these properties by deed. Until this is resolved and that cloud is there, if it's the commission's wish, I would recommend that you take a vote on whether or not to allow this right of entry for the Army Corps of Engineers. I can't, as your director, I can't do that. Any action where we decide to allow others to have access to any properties under the jurisdiction of the commission, by law falls with the commission, the Board of Commission. It's beyond my jurisdiction unless it's the authority would be transferred to me, and it has not been done so. So I recommend you take a vote on it if necessary, if you agree or not agree to this. But just to let you know, there is a cloud. I've reviewed the documents. Joey Leon Guerrero, our land supervisor, he would be able to go into it in greater detail. Would you like to hear that before I move on?
Yes.
Okay, Joey, could you take over in that part?
Yeah, so again, as Mr. Burt said, this property that they're requesting for right of entry involves parcel 7146, and I was able to locate I guess you would call a memorandum from Attorney Bill Bischoff, and he's basically stating what Mr. Burt said, that these lands needed the legislative concurrence before it could have been transferred to Ancestral Lands Commission. So if you need a copy of that, I can send that to you. But in the meantime, and as I guess as recommended by Attorney Nicholas Toff, it's best to have all 3 agencies sign off in the meantime until it's clarified who has the proper jurisdiction over this property.
Okay, so Mr. Chair, there you have it. After reviewing the documents, Joey and I agree with Attorney Tuff's assessment. There's probably only 2 ways to permanently resolve the issue. Is one, we could have the deeds rescinded, but that'll take the governor to do that, or we can have the legislature formally transfer the property to Ancestral Lands to be in compliance with local law. But right now, because the deeds at Land Management, it shows that Ancestral Lands and Parks and Recreation, the Department of Park Recreation has jurisdiction over the property. If you look at the records with the deeds where they're located and recorded at Department of Land Management, but the Attorney General's office their take on it is that the legislature is the only one that has authority to transfer land. And it wasn't in our enabling act, and therefore their position is the transfers are invalid.
Okay, so Director, the primary issue right now is giving them permission to
Yes,
enter the property. That's the primary.
that's
of your
that's the
report-
that's
your
the only
report.
issue at this point. We could cover the
Okay.
rest later on.
Yeah, I have no issues with accessing the property, especially it's dealing with contamination on the property and investigating and it's by the feds. I have no issue with it.
Great.
I don't know what the board thinks, board members.
It's basically to protect the environment and human health, because we have a lot of unexploded ordnance out there, and they've located area that they really want to. If you look at the map there that you got, it should show a red dot. That's the primary location they want to look at, where they have the suspected contamination or ordnance located. And they would like to come in January as quick as they can, but it
Yeah,
needs
and
the board.
Yeah, and if it is, any contamination, they're responsible. They would clean it up, and we have no
Yes.
means to do that if there is. So I'm in favor of it.
I have a
Okay.
comment.
Commissioner Cruz?
We're saying that this property shouldn't have gone into our inventory to begin with. And to rectify this, we're going to ask the governor to invalidate that transfer or go to the legislature. In the meantime, if we allow this, and I'm sure I want to allow it, but it's going to be construed as, us accepting that transfer.
Oh.
So we really don't, I personally don't think that we should entertain
Commissioner-
anything that's not even, that we think that, it's not even our property.
Commissioner Cruz, they're asking all three
All
agencies.
three.
So if they don't get all three agencies to do it, it ain't gonna happen. So basically, all three agencies that are involved, they have to get approval from them. So they would have to approve also, not just us. So that's not gonna give any implications on anything with it, I would think. Director?
Yes, Mr. Chair, that was the recommendation of Attorney Tuff, just to make sure we cover all bases and get the property cleaned up. Yeah, for all three agencies, Parks and Rec, Ancestral Lands, and Chamorro Land Trust, to sign off on the document to allow the right of entry.
If we don't and the other two do, then it's like kind of like signaling that they own it.
It has to be all three or.
All three of
or
us.
not.
So we have to, all
Right.
three have to approve it.
All three
According
have
to
to
Tom,
approve
our
it,
legal counsel.
yes, or else we have to go through the long process of removing the cloud of who has jurisdiction.
And right now, they're ready to go in January is what you're saying.
They want to go in
If we
January.
wait, we're just gonna delay the process. Just delay the
Exactly.
process. Yeah, and it doesn't make sense to delay it. If it is. Commissioner
Okay, I'll
Wesley,
agree with you guys, but just make a note of my concern, okay? On the minutes, thank you.
noted. Commissioner Wesley?
Yes, thank you. I was basically going along those same lines as Commissioner Cruz until our director mentioned that this authorization would require all three agencies to sign off granting the access request. But since, as I'm understanding, there is a cloud as to really who has jurisdiction over these properties because of the failure to transfer correctly by Governor Gutierrez, that the Army Corps of Engineers would probably have to understand that this approval that we give is going, it has to be subject to, I guess confirmation as to whether or not we have the authority to grant the access right, and that it could, I don't know how, but their right could be taken away at some point in time, the way things sometimes operate. If it is deemed that none of us have authority, over this property, I don't know. So that would be, I guess, just my caution right there. I think having all three agencies sign up who currently have possible jurisdiction of this property is a good thing. But I think there should be something that states that, or at least to make them aware that there is a cloud as to really who has authority at this point in time to grant the access rights, and that, you know, it could be like with anything, it could be you know, terminated or declared void, something to that effect.
Okay, just a reminder, yes, the concerns are noted, that this is coming from our legal counsel. And this is his recommendation. Our legal counsel is telling us that they would need all three approvals from. So our legal counsel is saying to actually that we can do it if it's all three. Commissioner Rios, you had your hands up.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I just wanted to add to that too. I think the only thing I would probably recommend or suggest is maybe a fourth letter come from the front office, only because I think originally the property was given to the front office and then returned and then dispersed from that office to the three agencies. So I'm just thinking, you know, Mr. Director, can you, if that's something that makes any sense at all, I'm sorry, but I was just thinking that originally it was given to Governor Gutierrez, and then from there, there might have been the transfer that was not clear, or maybe a few missing steps to validate that transfer. But maybe we get a fourth letter or authorization to use that property coming from the front office. Just a thought.
Well,
thank you.
The Governor Gutierrez transferred to us. Joey could probably check the records. I believe the property actually belonged to Chamorro Land Trust. And it was, yeah, so Joey shaking his head, yes. And the governor does not have the authority to unilaterally transfer any property. That's belongs to the legislature. And when he did that, he transferred not just this one property, he transferred other properties. And so we have to clear up the issue on all of them. And the Attorney General placed a stop on the commission from granting deeds of these properties back to any original landowners. That was stopped. So, because they said the deeds were invalid, that we didn't have that authority. But because they are registered with land management, it shows ancestral lands as the agency with jurisdiction. But the Attorney General says it may show that, but they are invalid deeds, and it should either be reversed or taken to the legislature for their review and their decision whether or not it should be transferred us to be returned to the original landowners, if there are any.
I want to make a comment.
Commissioner Cruz?
I do remember, you know, that we were stopped from making any more transfers
Yes.
of this kind of properties, and that including the Hanum area, the title
Yes,
notes.
the
So,
title,
yeah,
you're correct.
so
Sorry,
we
Commissioner.
didn't. After that, we didn't even. I mean, we did tell them the problem of that. You know how that land got into our inventory, and we did tell them that it really shouldn't be in our inventory. So they would have to work with the legislature to get that property back. It's not going to be with the commissioners, but with the Ancestral Land Commission.
I got a quick question for you, Joey. Are there any legitimate heirs to that property that would qualify under ancestral lands? Because yeah, there's a halt on it, but has there been any claims to it from original landowners?
Yes, there were claims filed for those properties. And I don't know if you recall, but we did have a hearing, and we had the Department of Land Management, I guess representing Gov Guam, and then we also had the AG's office there at the hearing. And again, they informed the board that this property was already going through land registration process, and basically they're waiting just for the map to be approved and to
Oh,
yeah. But
But-
and then I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Burke.
Yeah, I have also checked into it, and there were two court cases. One taken by Gov Guam, one was taken to the court by Gov Guam, and one by the Taitano family. And the courts ruled that the properties are government of Guam properties and not the Taitanos. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
still in litigation somewhere out there.
okay.
But,
Now I recall this case.
Yes.
I'm very familiar with this. Now I have an idea of what's going on. Okay, so basically the issue right now is, okay, we'll just let the the process continue, but right now let's deal with this this request to give them permission to access the properties. Are we all in agreement to allow them? They need to get an approval from the three agencies. So I'm in favor of it. If somebody wants to make the motion.
So move.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to approve the request to access these properties. Do I hear a second?
Second, that.
Motion by Vice Chair, by the way. And we have a second by Commissioner Rios. Okay, all in favor?
No,
Aye.
wait, now for discussion,
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Okay, sure.
I would like to, to everyone that, like in the matter, just to go in solidarity. That's the purpose of how I see this matter, to settle it. So, we're all working together as got one government to right the wrong. All right, that's it.
very good.
Okay, very good. Any further discussion? Okay, no further discussion. Motion on the floor to approve. All in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, any nays? Any nays? Okay, no nays, Director? Motion
Okay.
approved.
Thank you, Commissioners. I'll inform Madeline Martinez that the Guam Ancestral Lands is ready to sign off pending, of course, the Parks and Recs, which that will simply take the acting director to sign up for that agency, and Chamorro Land Trust pending their commission's approval on the same thing. So I'll tell them to prepare the document, Mr. Chair, for your signature on behalf of the Guam Ancestral Lands. Okay, that's my report. Thank you for this opportunity. Please let me know if you need any further information. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. That does that complete your report? Nothing on the financials regarding the banks or
Well,
anything?
Yes, if you want to go over it,
Yes, sir.
attachment A,
Yes.
and the attachment A shows you because we do have later on for transferring some money. And that is from a 36-month term share to a 3-month term share. As we move into investing our funds, I've been placing everything in short-term notes. And you can see that one is under account number 404 on attachment A. There's over $224,000 in that account. But rather than having it roll over for another 3-year term share at about 0.45%, I would like us to be able to reinvest that and have those funds turned over to our investment committee. And so that we can make more income out of that into maybe some secure note just like this, like this, but at better rates. And based on what Raymond James said to us at the last time is that they could place our accounts in several accounts at insured at $250,000, where they would each be 100% insured. Not like right now, it's only insured at Coast 360 for $250,000 for the entire $15 million. So currently our balance at sorry, my throat's gone dry. The current balance at Coast 360 is $15,462,462,279.79. And that on the Bank of Hawaii, it's $64,399. They're all on short-term notes, ready to roll over, and depending on what advice we get from our investment committee, we're ready to move the funds. I just don't want them to be in a long-term note stuck in there at such a very low rate. So we'll be picking that up later on when we get to item number 7, new business.
Okay, shall we go ahead and move with your recommendation, Director, now?
Oh, you can. Yes, it's on
Yeah,
the
let's
agenda.
do it.
That's
let's
on the resolution, excuse me, number 2022-09, to transfer funds in the Land Bank Trust Fund from a 3-year note to a 3-month note to allow us to better invest the funds.
Okay, and that's resolution number
2022-009. I got this, but it's not
okay.
working.
Does the board have any questions? So we can go ahead and move with this resolution.
Yeah.
You okay, Director? That looks like
Yeah,
it should be,
there it is. My throat's back.
look like it should be Coke Zero maybe.
Yeah, that's supposed to be. Anything would work. Thanks. Kathy came in, is worried about my throat just dried
Yeah.
up.
There you go. Sound better.
Yeah,
Okay.
got a frog in there or something. But yeah, I would appreciate it if you work on that one. That way we don't get our funds stuck in long-term notes at very
Well-
low interest rates.
At least for now, let's move with this 3-month suggested by the director. Short term. Anybody have any questions about the resolution? Okay, let's move. Are we still reviewing the suggestion from the director and the resolution? It's still in the same banking systems, right? The banking entities, right,
Yeah.
Director? It's still within
Yes,
the
it
same
doesn't-
banking.
It's very similar, almost a duplicate of what we've done in the past, pending our decision to place these into better investments. And that's why we got the investment committee up and running now. And this will be placed in their hands to come in and make a recommendation to the commission for action on it. But it gives us the opportunity to move funds around without losing any money in the process. So it just simply brings it down from 36 months to 3 months, allowing us to transfer the notes a lot easier. It's like making it, turning it into short-term notes, almost extreme liquidity equal to cash.
And it'll make it a lot easier once we finalize our IPS.
Yes, once we finalize the IPS, that's the whole
IPS, it
point.
makes it a lot
is that
easier for us to move forward with
We
it.
have our 2 commissioners with the GLC GITA investment committee to determine what's the best way to invest this. So what we've done throughout the year, as they matured, reverted all our notes. This is the last one to convert to a 3-month. This is the last note or the last share.
So within at least these 3 months, we need to finalize our investment policy.
Right, hopefully sooner
Right.
than that, but because we have some that are going to roll over October 21, others, November 6th, and some December 20. So, yeah, we have
Oh,
a lot of time.
We can transfer as they come along.
Yeah, we can
right?
transfer as they come
As they expand,
along,
we can,
or,
yeah, as they come along.
yeah, with no loss to any income. That's the intent. The savings at Coast 360 is extremely low. They run at, imagine for the amount of money we got there, we're getting 0.045%. If we transfer, for example, to PenFed is running almost at 1.25%. Coast 360 is extremely low with their interest rates. So we're losing out a lot. We need to get this done soon. And I would hate to see something roll over at that low rate for, even if it's below 1%, for another 3 years.
Commissioners,
Well, we
would
could
you
get a
like
whole lot
to,
better.
would you like to take a little bit more time with this and we come back to this, or you want to make it on the, I think it's going to be a little too late for the next meeting, but if you feel uncomfortable and you want to study it more,
I think we should go ahead and approve it. I don't have my copy right now of that resolution. Otherwise, I would go ahead and make a motion to approve it. So if
Okay,
somebody
so
can just repeat that, and
would-
I'll make that motion.
oh.
Because this is really in preparation of what we want to invest in our, what we want to invest. So,
could-
it's going to be a lot easier for us instead of, coming back and forth.
I
I'm not
could
saying
read-
that it's going to be 250,000. I'm not, or set amount. I'm just saying that we can put it in an easier account. I mean, an account that will be easier for us to withdraw it whenever it's needed. So.
Okay, I could read it,
go
Mr.
ahead,
Chair,
Director.
if you would like.
Go ahead, Director.
The motion basically be after maturity, close account 0404 from the Land Bank Trust Fund and deposit, it's actually $324,241.73 plus all interest earned to a 3-month jumbo term share with automatic rollover at Coast 360.
Okay, so I'd like to go ahead and make that motion that's just stated by our director.
Okay. Do we hear a second?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have seconded by Commissioner Westling. All in favor? Aye.
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 Any nays? No nays? Director, motion passes.
Thank you, commissioners. Are there any other questions or clarifications you require?
No, doesn't seem like, okay. Thank you, Director.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, let's move down to, let's see. Okay, now we're down to item 4. Item 5, GITA progress report.
Buenas.
Buenas.
Buenas and good afternoon, Mr. Chairman Laguarnia. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman Eclavea, Vice Chair Laguarnia.
Excuse me, before you go further, can you on every lease, can you ask the commissioners if they have a comment before you proceed to the other lease, such as Wettingale Junction? Any questions? And after that, April Harbor. So, because sometimes when you finish everything, I forget what I'm supposed to ask. So, if you don't mind, thank you.
Okay, we'll do that, Commissioner Cruz. Okay, buenas and good afternoon.
One second. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
GITA, I'm sorry. Okay, also, basically, Commissioner Cruz, you're requesting that after every report on every item, on GITA's report to present questions on that.
Yes,
opposed to them-
but I realized also like this Weddingale Junction, that's going to be a lengthy discussion. So,
Understood.
right.
Okay, understood. Okay.
but the easier
continue.
ones, we just want to make a follow on what's
Understood.
happening.
I agree.
Okay.
No, I agree. Understood. And you just clarified. Okay. Sorry, GITA. Continue.
All right, good afternoon all. I'm GALC Director Birch, your members, I'm Tony Ariola representing Gita, and along with me is our manager, Mr. Diego Mendiola, is currently present, with Mary Camacho, our supervisor, and Megan, our program coordinator. Uh, the following is I'm here to discuss present the Gita monthly progress report, and the following is a progress report on Gita's efforts to manage the land bank trust properties as required by Section 1 of the MOU between Gita and the GALC Land Bank Trust. First on the list is Weddingale Junction, which is leased by Northern Market, located on Route 3 in Dededo. The total deferred balance is $1,208,646.25. Their interest is $245,644.45. So their total outstanding balance as of October 1st is $1,454,290.70. Northern Market's extended 1-year full rent deferral will be expiring on October 31 at the end of this month. Tenant is fully aware of the terms and conditions indicated on the November 29, 2021 letter. I'd also like to inform the commission that we have the duly authorized rep, Ms. Jennifer Colville, who will be presenting her proposal and plans in regards to their lease. Yeah. I'd like to ask the commission, is there any questions before I proceed on to the next tenant?
Can we get back to this particular lease after the rest of the report, such as the next one, Upper Harbor partial?
Sure.
Because like I said, I know it's going to be a kind of lengthy discussion because their deferment is going to expire at the end of this month. Thank you.
Okay, so basically, we'll have Gita finish their report, then go back to,
Yes.
okay. Okay,
And
Gita?
again, each lease, please ask if there's any questions that
May I also
Okay.
add, at the end of the report, Ms. Jennifer Colville is going to be presenting her plans, her proposal. So
Okay, very
Okay.
good. Very good.
be given the opportunity to do that?
Afterwards, yes, of course.
Yes.
Okay,
do
Gita, you can,
Okay, the
finish your
next one on the list is the Upper Harbor parcel number 1. This is a quick space across the PD power plant. Their last payment, I want to make a revision in the last payment that they made. Instead of September 13, the payment was made on October 14, and that leaves them with a 0 outstanding balance. The next one on the list is the Upper Harbor Reservation F12. That's Matson's property down at Polaris Point. Their monthly rent is $27,733, and their last payment, there's also a revision of that. Instead of September 30, payment was made on October 7, 2022, with an outstanding balance of 0. Lot Upper Harbor Reservation F12R2, which is Trans still part of the Polaris Point property, the half-acre property. Monthly rent on that is $500. The tenant is on a month-to-month tenancy and has been on a payment plan from May 2021 to present. The last payment received was on October 3rd in the amount of $600, and that leaves them with an outstanding balance of $9,300. The Tengisan Cable Landing Station in Dededo, this is by the Tengisan Beach, along there. The tenant is AT&T. Their monthly rent is $22,939.42. This tenant makes regular monthly payments via EFT, electronic fund transfer, at the beginning of every month. And their payment was received on October 4th in the amount of $22,939.42. 0 outstanding balance. Lot Upper Harbor Reservation F12, part of Polaris Point as well. This is the new lease with Smith Bridge, Guam. Their lease agreement was signed and recorded on August 31, 2022, and their lease commenced on September 1, 2022. The tenant makes monthly payments at the beginning of every month. And we received their payment on October 10 in the amount of $8,800. Okay, the next one on the list is lot 10155. That's the Farmers Co-op Association of Guam. We finally received their lease payment due for calendar year 2021, and that was paid on October 3rd in the amount of $3,253.90. We also got word from FG Rep Katrina Rages that stated that they're currently working on the calendar year 2021 financial statements for submission. This is the required statement to determine the amount due for calendar year 2022. And that response was made as per the email on September 21. Representative Katrina Rages also stated that their Farmers Co-op nonprofit status was reinstated on September 28th, and we do have their BBT attached certificate for you to review. The Tizan properties. This is the Guam Environmental Protection Agency building in Tizan. Their monthly rent is $8,000. Their outstanding is $232,000. This tenant makes regular monthly payments via EFT before the end of the month. And their last payment was received on September 27 in the amount of $8,000. We had just received GIPA's record payment summary statement on October 18 regarding their arrears. And we are currently reconciling with our accounting division. Next one is the Department of Public Health, the WIC Program Building Office. Their monthly rent is $8,400. Their outstanding balance is $37,499.35. They also make regular monthly payments via EFT before the end of their month. And their last payment was received on September 8, 2022 in the amount of $8,400. The other items on the list regarding the investment committee. GALC and GITA held a special investment meeting on Thursday, September 29, 2022, with financial advisors from Raymond James, and Amanda Gima will be the RJ point of contact for the GALC account. RJ submitted a draft of the investment policy statement outlining the policies and procedures in effectively supervising, monitoring, and evaluating the investment of the Guam Ancestral Lands Commission's fund assets. The committee members and Director Birch will further review the IPS draft to be presented to GALC at a later date. The 20th Pacific Region Investment Conference was recommended for GALC Commission and designated committee members to attend for investment training. That conference will be held on November 14 to 18, 2022 in Makati, Philippines. A travel budget will be presented at the next meeting. The strategic planning working session will be scheduled, and this exercise will include the investment advisors and the commissioners in a collaborative manner to help craft the IPS, its timeliness, and parameters. Last but not least, the F-12 Polaris Mitigation Plan. Smithbridge Guam will issue a notice of intent to award to PCR Environmental to prepare the mitigation plan and budget and work closely with PCR in developing the scope of work. Upon completion, the scope of work and the budget will be presented to the Commission for approval. The development of the scope of work is managed by Smithbridge Guam. The implementation of the scope of work will seek approval, and thereafter the mitigation will also seek approval. This concludes the report, the GITA Monthly Progress Report. Now, is there any questions?
Mr. Chair?
Sorry about that. Okay, thank you, Tony. Vice Chair?
Yeah, I just would like to comment on that. I like the format of the report. I like that. It's really nice. And I want to thank whoever did the report. It's really good. So, but you know, when I look at the back, it was signed by your deputy director. Did he prepare the report? Mr. Tony, did you prepare the report?
Yes, but it's also the procedure for the deputy to sign off, Vice Chair.
Oh, you know what? Oh, there's Melody. May I suggest that, when I normally ran administrative operations, that I would have him, I would have you sign it, but I would have it via the deputy or the director, so that the work would show that the work was done by you. Hi, Melanie. I see you.
Usually,
Yes.
it's Commissioner, thank you for that. And I agree. I
Yeah.
think it's usually just because it's a team effort. So, so Tony does all the updates for the tenants, and then Diego or Mary do all the updates for the RJ or the investment advisors. So it's different members of the team contribute, which is why I think at the end of the day we can sign off. But that's a wonderful idea. We're willing to do it if that's your
Yeah.
if that's what you guys would like to see. No problem.
Yeah. The reason why is for archives purposes, and when people inquire, they're going to have to look for the deputy director if there are any questions on the matter. And normally when we were, I've run administrative programs, I would always give credit to my staff, and that it only gives them more motivation to do good. And I really like the format. I like that, and I appreciate the boxing there, and the script. I like that. That is so good. I just want to thank Tony and your team for the good work that you guys did on that report.
Thank you, sir. It's an honor to work. It's an honor to work on behalf of do the work of the ancestral owners.
Thank you. Vice
I'd
Chair.
like to add something to what Commissioner Leguatna, Vice Chair, just said. That I think, Melanie, we appreciate your presence. I don't think we've had the pleasure of having the presence of the GIDI administrator so many times. I don't think we've even had once in the past. So, Sejus Masi for really showing yourself and presenting the service that the board appreciates very much, and having your presence means a lot. Sejus Masi.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Today I'm actually there. I wasn't sure today because it's Diego Mendiola's birthday, so I wasn't sure if he was going to take leave today. So I did block out your meeting specifically for this purpose. But I do enjoy attending your meetings. It's certainly a learning process, and to be able to assist. Director Birch has such a small team, and so to be able to augment his work is and to extend his work to get your work done quicker. Really, it's good. It's definitely something that we're very interested in helping to press forward. The work of the Ancestral Lands Commission is really at the forefront right now. People are so passionate about the issues of the ancestral landowners, and so we always want to make sure we get everybody's we have a full. GIDA wants to make sure we have a full understanding of where everybody stands, and so that when we go out and represent you, we're not misrepresenting your organization when we represent you as property managers or whatever.
I appreciate that, and I just wanted to note that it is a pleasure for you directly to this. I mean, I'm not trying to pressure you to be on every meeting, but you've already broke the record on our experiences with other past administrators. So we appreciate that. Your input and your participation in these meetings. So just Masi. Okay, so let's continue with the questioning regarding, I guess, Commissioner Cruz, you wanted to go back to the first item with GIDA. You're on mute.
I think it's important. It's more important for Rettengale Junction to discuss what they submitted just recently to the commission, unless you guys want to table this to the next meeting. But I guess I'll remind you again that their deferral payment expires the end of this month.
Yeah, the board is very much aware. So now's the time for questions. Board members.
I have a question, Mr. Chair.
Vice Chair.
Yeah, can you, I just wanted to, can you backtrack again? I somehow lost the report. I was working off from my phone the same time because I'm not really savvy about pulling the report from the screen
Okay.
that I'm currently seeing. What was the financial situation with the co-op? Did they start paying already?
Oh, you're talking about, okay, we were going back to Weddingale.
The co-op?
But-
No. I was talking about the Farmers Co-op Association.
Oh, okay, okay.
What the update on that? Have they begun paying their 2% towards the lease agreement with the lease agreement?
Okay, let's go to that real quick, Gita.
Yeah, Vice Chair, if I may, yes, they made their first payment of the calendar year 2021. It was paid on October 3rd. Pending now is the amount due for calendar year 2022, and we're just waiting for them to submit the financial statement for that.
Oh, so how much did they pay so far?
What's due in calendar year 2021? $3,253.90.
Oh, and they paid that.
Yes, they paid that on October 3rd.
Okay. Of this year.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Wow, great. That's good news. Okay, that's it. Thank you, Tony.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Lino has had her hand up for quite some
Oh, I'm
time.
sorry, Commissioner Lino, continue. You got the floor.
Thank you very much. I just want to touch on TransSteel. Their monthly payment is $500, right? And their outstanding arrears are $9,300. They're making a faithful payments on their monthly, right? And they have not touched the outstanding. Have anybody checked them why they continue? I want to know who is running TransSteel.
Well, it looks like they're paying $100 over their monthly, so they're paying $600. So $100 is going to their outstanding every month.
That wasn't
so far.
stated on the report, so that's what I want to know. Was it stated on the report, Mr. Tony?
Yes, it has in the past. I want to also add that we wrote to the owner of that business is Mr. John Pearson, and we wrote to him, if my memory serves me correctly, at the beginning of September, we wrote to him to ask him if he can make more additional payments with more than $100 towards his arrears. And he came in personally 2 weeks after that and informed us that he's trying his very best and he will try to pay more than the extra $100 on top of his monthly rent. We recommended that he pay maybe an additional $300 to $500, and he said he's going to try his best to come up with that money, as he's still impacted by the pandemic crisis right now. But that was acknowledged with us.
Okay. One more. Then I'll be done. With WIG, their monthly payments are $8,400 and their arrears are running $37,499.35, right?
Yes, that's Commissioner Reno. Just to let you know that they usually pay like lump sum payments, like they make like 4 or 5 month payments. From what I know, this was about maybe a week ago. They said they had proof that their certification of funds for, I guess, this new fiscal year, and they should be making some payment hopefully soon. And once we get that payment, we will be reporting that to the commission. But normally they will make like 4 to 5 month lump sum payments. Yeah, so
On the regular monthly payment.
that's correct.
But they have
Yes.
not touched the arrears of that $37,499.35.
Yeah, they have paid down their arrears. They have paid down their arrears of lump sums that they made. Yeah, but we are expecting payment from them soon, and we'll stay
Okay.
on top of that.
Thank you. We just, need to know and have this companies that, those arrears have been long overdue. I mean, it's not just yesterday. And, they need to pay up and be good to their business and to themselves because we need it too. We have to have those monies in our account so that we, whenever we need to pay out landowners, that it's readily available. And I don't want them to hold us back in any way, and we don't want to hold them back too. We want to continue this or their whatever, but in good faith, we like to see them come up with their commitment. Okay. Thank
Totally
you.
agree with you, and we'll be on top of it. Thank you as well.
Thank you, Commissioner Arlino, for bringing that back to light, these outstanding balances. So, Jus Masi.
Yeah, good morning.
Any other further questions? Okay, I understand that Wedding Gale, I guess the Wedding Gale issue, I know that we have Jennifer Calvo. Would you like to address? I know we got there's a document attachment that outlines a financial payment plan.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Good afternoon to everyone, to the director and the commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to present this afternoon. As you mentioned, I did submit on behalf of Northern Market yesterday a report and also a request and proposal to GITA. First, I just wanted to give an update on the status. I know we've been providing progress reports, throughout the last year with our tenants. And so I know that all of you are familiar with, who we have committed to lease space within the property. One change is that we no longer have Bank of Guam as a tenant, but we do have another financial institution that we're finalizing an arrangement with. Thankfully, this other institution was interested. So it was, kind of a seamless transition, occupying the same space, same, rental rate. So we're just finalizing those details with the new institution. Otherwise, the list of tenants remains the same. We have Kings, who we're close to signing the lease with, who will be a pad tenant as well. So they'll be leasing a pad that we'll be constructing for them, preparing the infrastructure and then constructing their own building on that property. We also have, as I mentioned, I think previously was Daiso, which is a large Japanese retailer that will be building other facilities on the island, but they will be leasing a space for a retail center and then also a distribution center kind of on the backside with, large square footage. So that's a larger footprint. And then of course, within the multi-tenant building that we have planned for phase 2, we have Tokyo Mart, Biology, Ajusen, Benny, and then another new franchise from Japan that is also committed to renting space within. So I think it's, we've all kind of acknowledged that the interest is unquestionable in the project, and the commitment is well documented. It's just a matter of kind of getting things going. And of course, we had this imminent deadline with the expiration of the deferment happening at the end of this month. So the letter that I submitted yesterday was just to kind of address that and update you on our financing efforts. Also just to kind of propose a payment plan, because we do acknowledge, that GALC has been very patient. With our arrears, we've gotten 2 years, I think, of the deferment, and there's been a reduction of rent. So we do want to make good on our financial obligation under the lease. So we've included that in our financing requests. So I'm not sure if you all have a copy of the letter from yesterday. But first, there were several conditions in the November 29th letter from last year. One of them, of course, was that if we receive any rental income, that we remit payments to GITA under the lease. So included with the letter, enclosed with the letter, was a check for $10,000. So, we know, and we of course wanted to deliver a check with many more zeros for you. to kind of commit to, our continuing obligations under the lease. But, at the time, presently, that was the amount that we had in our account from rental payments that were being received for some of the unimproved property that was leased. So that was remitted as required under the deferment conditions. The second issue, of course, is the construction loan. And we were presented with two options, I guess, in the alternative under the November 29, 2021 letter. So the first one was if we got the construction loan, we pay a lump sum arrears payment. And if we did not get the construction loan by the end of this month, then we had, I think, 1 year to make 12 monthly installments of the arrears payment. As I mentioned, we have not finalized or closed the construction loan yet. We have received a financing proposal from a local financial institution after thoroughly going through our construction costs. Like I said, making it a manageable phase of 3 pads, which we already have, kind of committed tenants who intend to, build their buildings on the property, and we'll just, deliver the improved property. So the cost for that phase 1 for the 3 pads is about $3.2 million. So in our funding proposal, we did include an arrears component also for the Ancestral Lands Commission. We asked for $500,000 to make an arrears payment, to use the funds from the construction loan to make an arrears payment to GALC. And then, of course, there was about $400,000 in operating expenses that would be necessary to carry out the construction of the 3 pads. So, let me see. We are still working through the kind of closing requirements for the construction loan. Of course, that would include just kind of valuing, the property, our interest in the property, making sure that we have enough equity, and then also just kind of scheduling the tenant rental obligations to make sure we have that lease revenue to support the debt service under the loan. Also, we just have to schedule out the actual loan closing and what the details of the loan and the loan documents. So we expect to be able to do that within the month of January. So therefore, my proposal was that we make a payment of the arrears by the end of January, which would be, again, $500,000 towards the obligation, which was reported, I think it's 1.4 currently. So we would make a payment of $500,000 by the end of January. And also we're requesting that the rent not be deferred again, but that we get a reduction just to get the construction started, and just maybe on an escalating basis, continue to pay the rent, in an escalating amount until we're able to fully support both the debt service and the full amount of monthly rent once we have the phase 1 fully kind of tenanted and we're actually receiving the full rental income. What we're kind of struggling with now is that we have the tenants. It's just that, we have to deliver the pads in order for them to start their construction. And once they can start their construction, they'll be able to pay the full rent. But in the meantime, while we do the construction, some of them are reluctant to make the full rental amount. So the proposal is contained at the end of the letter. Like I said, it was just if in exchange for making a partial arrears payment by the end of January, and then also we ask if the commission can consider and consider a reduction of rent, escalating on a schedule that kind of mirrors the construction, to see that, just to make sure that we're able to both, simultaneously pay the rent and then also the debt service to get this property improved and start getting tenants actually occupied and kind of, paying full rent, as there's, definitely an interest. And we've come very far. We've made substantial progress, I think, especially since the pandemic, kind of got people interested and really committed to, to take this leap and deal with the escalated, the increased construction costs, to just really move forward. So that is the proposal. I'm sure there are many questions, so I will conclude with that and just wait for any questions for the commissioners. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Caldwell. Okay, board members, questions? Did everybody get the letter? And the attachment, the financials?
Yeah, I forwarded the letters to everyone, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
It came, I forwarded, I believe it was yesterday, as soon as it came in.
Okay. so
Yes,
I'm gonna
Check your
I
email.
received it, but I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm gonna assume everybody has it.
I
Okay,
received
so-
it,
Yeah,
but
I
I
received
didn't
it
have a
as well.
chance.
Okay, so Commissioner Westling, you want to be recognized?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was just gonna say I did receive it, but I did not see it until today.
Okay,
So, I thank you, Ms. Calvo, for going through your, the proposal and explaining it. But truth be told, I'm not ready to make any decisions on this. Because yeah, I need more time to swallow, to digest this. Because this is, again, calling for changes of everything that was previously agreed upon. While I understand the challenges and I empathize with it, it seems like it's continuing on and on and on and on. But I don't have any further questions at this time. I just need more time to digest all of this.
okay, Commissioner Camacho.
I have a question for Miss Jennifer Calvo. There is a $10,000 check, a copy of a $10,000 check attached, and if I'm not mistaken, you mentioned for rents received. Can you clarify that for me?
Yes, that was actually under the Bank of Guam lease, which was the structure of that. And I know that I included it maybe in one of the earlier reports, was that the structure was that their ground lease rent was being paid separate from the development cost for the infrastructure, or I guess the improvement cost. So that was going to be subject to a development agreement with Bank of Guam. In the interim, they were paying, a nominal, I guess, rent compared to the $10,000 full rent obligation. They were paying $2,500 per month. So prior to the termination of that lease, while we were negotiating the development agreement, they were making the payments of the $2,500. So the $10,000 is from the rental payments that they made between May and I think it was September, as they just terminated right before or early October. So that was the rental income, the only rental income that we were receiving.
I'm sorry, Ms. Calvo, I do have one question, but these rents that were collected and this $10,000 payment is for income during the period of May 2021 last year, right through September of 2021. That's being remitted now, basically a year later.
No, that was actually from.
Correct? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, that was actually written.
Yeah, the letter
So
says enclosed herewith.
Yeah, I apologize. That's actually from May 2022 to September.
Oh, okay. So the dates here are not correct. Okay.
Right, so that was under the lease that was signed in April.
Okay, that's
So there, I'm sorry, go ahead, Commissioner Camacho.
that was my question. Thank you for answering.
Okay, you're welcome.
There, just, correct, remind the board, there were separate conditions in the beginning, right? With the lease agreement, after we signed with regard to the developmental phase of it. That's what you're basically talking about, that it was, the permitting process. In the beginning, there was a different set of a payment schedule regarding that. Is that correct?
Yes, and then historically, I know that at one point the rent was reduced to about $10,000 while we did the permitting and started the construction. I guess, as Commissioner Westling kind of acknowledged that it's, that, I mean, obviously this has been kind of an ongoing issue that we've had to restructure and kind of replan and which we're, as equally frustrated and challenged by all of you, by these reports. However, now that we're actually close to getting the construction, when we did complete the permitting, so since we're close to getting the construction financing, the permitting is ready to go. We basically have a timeline that we can rely on. Things are not as fluid now. We have a solid timeline. Once we can get the funding in place, we can, start to move ground up there. What's a good thing as far as the construction goes is that our contractor advised that once we start doing the pad improvements in the infrastructure, we don't have to wait, or the tenants don't have to wait until that's completed, which will take about 12 months. About 4 to 6 months in, the tenants can actually start doing their own construction, so they can kind of work on parallel tracks, which is, great for us, because as soon as they start actually constructing their buildings, then then they'll be obligated to pay the full rent, which will then give us a better lease revenue basis for the debt service, and then of course for our lease obligations.
Okay, so basically, just to get to the basic tenets of what you're proposing, we have about 3 months left. For your proposal on January 31st to deposit $500,000. Is that correct? That's correct, right?
Correct, as the arrears payment. Yes.
Right, towards the arrears payment. So from the end of October 31st until then, are you remitting any payments on that time, or is that still you're seeking to also have that be part of the deferred?
Well, what I guess we're asking also is just for a reduction in the rent. I mean, I guess there's two components, right? There's the arrears, payments towards the arrears, and then also the monthly rent obligation. So for the arrears, we would just commit to making the $500,000 payment in January. I guess, and without.
No, I understand. Okay, no, I understand that, but I'm talking about after the 31st, because our deferment ends on October 31st, correct?
Right. So
okay, so from the time of November 1st up until the 31st of January, you're still looking at deferring those 3 months.
Not necessarily deferment. We were asking for, I guess, reduced rent.
Also, you want to start starting in November, a reduced rent.
Right. If we could do something that kind of reflects what we're actually, we're not doing anything on the property. Deferment would be ideal, but I know, we're not in the best position to do that. So, we would ask to start paying a reduced rent.
Okay, I see. So I see. So in January 31st, you'll be paying $500,000, and then you would you're asking for a reduced rent starting from November all the way through. So just to make things simple, you would be at you would basically pay off the deferment and be back up to par at what date? Did you give a date with that?
Not for the balance of the arrears.
Oh, the arrears, just with the arrears.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Chairman Ecobe, I'm sorry to interrupt. Okay. The way I see this as what is being proposed, and correct me anybody if I'm wrong, okay? That what Northern Market is proposing is that there still be continued deferment of rent, which is currently at an outstanding balance of, I think, is Kita reports is at 1.4 million, something to the tune of that. And so Northern Market is proposing to make on or before January 31st a partial payment of $500,000 towards that outstanding balance. And they are also asking for a reduction in the monthly rental obligation to, for example, only, she puts here 1/3 of the $27,000 because they're only using 1/3 of the property. So the question begs to be asked, then how is the remaining $1 million in arrears going to be paid? Because that's not mentioned here. After the 500,000 payment is made, how is that outstanding balance, which is supposed to be brought up currently, you know, either in the construction loan or in equal monthly payments through October 2023, I believe, to cover the outstanding balance, which would make outstanding payments, you know, in excess of, if memory serves me right, I'm sorry, I don't have all the figures in front of me right now, it'd be over, you know, over $100,000 a month to bring total arrears up to current. And so that's not being discussed here in this letter.
Well,
And
yeah,
so
my question, my questioning was leading up to that. Thank you for clarifying.
Okay, so, you know, I would like, personally, I would like to see a breakdown of you know, what exactly is being proposed and promised as far as what the true commitment can be. Right now, it's you know, and again, Ms. Calmo, I empathize, you know, and with the situation, you know, this is a tough call, but it's kind of put us between a rock and a hard place. And you know, I have to keep reminding myself whose interest we are supposed to be safeguarding. And right now, I'm not feeling confident, you know, in this, especially now that Northern Market is asking for yet another reduction or deferment on the true monthly rent obligation. And, you know, in our business, I mean, in the rental business, you know, just because the tenant doesn't use all the property, but has possession and control of it, you know, rent is not based on what portion they use or not use, you know. And so, you know, I'd really like to see a complete breakdown, you know, as to what we can truly expect.
Okay,
But
yeah,
before-
and we understand.
Yeah, before giving any kind of you know, approval. And you know, I hope you understand, you know, where I'm coming from. Because I know Carlos has worked hard on this, and you know, we ran into the pandemic and you know, all that stuff, but at the same time, it's just it's tough.
Right. No, we
Yeah.
understand. And of course, you know, the long-term plan was to include subsequent for subsequent construction loans, for example, for phase 2 of which actually involves the construction of the multi-tenant facility, and then another tenant, a larger tenant building, that we would include funding for you know, additional arrears payments. But I understand the need to kind of see that laid out and kind of see the numbers plugged into that timeline, you know, which we can do, you know, further, at least we can include projections after talking to, you know, to our, you know, potential lender about this, if that would be more helpful or give the commissioners more comfort with proceeding.
It would for me, and you know, and everything. Time is of the essence, as you know. The end of the month is just right around the corner, and then you know, it expires.
Right. So,
And you know, it expires. Yeah. So that's what I would like to see before making any kind of decision, you know, on this proposal. I want to see more details. I want to see more, not maybes, but this is what we can commit to. You know, this is the guarantee. This is what we can, what the commission can expect. Thank you.
okay, thank you.
The comment, doesn't look like you really at this point have any confirmed commitment to the things that you're anticipating for income. So Commissioner Wessling is asking for confirmed figures, confirmed figures with commitments. I don't know how that's gonna happen. And another, my concern is that 10,000 deposit right now is really unfavorable to the commission. My personal opinion.
Right, right. And I mean, that was done as obligated under the November 2021 letter with, those conditions, but of course was, we acknowledge that that's nominal in comparison to the arrears that's due.
I can't see it.
I feel that the Whittingale market should come back with, again, if you're asking for another deferment, because, it's going to expire, so you would need to submit another written request. And also, maybe you can increase your deposit and then the other things that you would, commitments that will let the commission see that this is really going to happen this time. By January 31st, you will be able to make those big payments. So,
Right.
that's
So
my
what I
comment.
Okay, thank you. So I wanted to ask, in light of the comments and, of course, we understand, Mr. Camacho and I for the past, year have been providing the updates, but of course, this is, the ultimate update I think that everyone was waiting for or is needed in connection with the impending expiration. So would the commissioners be willing to give us, I guess, an extension of the existing deferment through the end of January, and that way I can work to get the actual financing, commitment and terms and the detail maybe submitted before the next board meeting, and to actually have a solid financial plan to look at and see what those numbers will be and what the monthly payments will be, at least for the next year. That including the arrears payment of about $500,000 and then also the monthly obligations.
Okay, before we get to your question, I'd like to see if we can get a response or an input from Gita. I know, Melanie, you had your hands up. Could we get some input from Gita if you have any?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. Diego and I were just chatting for a moment here, and considering the, at Gita, we certainly see the challenging economic environment that many of our businesses are facing, in addition to the challenging construction environment that anyone building outside the fence is facing. And for that reason, we certainly empathize with the Northern Marketplace's challenges thus far. But what I was going to say was we did get the letter fairly recently with the proposal. And I think the analysis that Commissioner Wessling was referring to was understanding the opportunity cost, right, of what we're giving up while we're waiting for payment. And the original arrears per Diego included some interest and penalties. In addition, there was the OPA report concerning rents and things like that. And so what we were thinking was if GALC would be okay, Gita can take a look and maybe make like a kind of a financial model with what the options are as presented, and with some potential alternative options. I don't know if it's if you want us to communicate directly with Attorney Calvo, we can do that. And then so that we can make a recommendation as to what might be workable for the commission without sacrificing the interests of your constituents. But I think it would take about, maybe from now until next month's meeting to develop a financial model, that way you can see what you're giving up for the time that you're giving it up and how much you can recover through future escalation or the collection of arrears and how their arrears are tracking and all of that. market conditions are a little bit volatile right now in the investment world, right? And so so if it's not like if you're written a check and you were putting it in stocks, the value is gonna be going up and down, right? So here it's not about the volatility of the investment. These are the cash flow. It's really about what you're giving up by sacrificing not receiving the cash flow from now until the time that they're proposing. So we can kind of model that out on a spreadsheet of some kind, and so it's a little easier to digest the number impact, because numbers don't lie, right? And we can help out with that.
Okay, I appreciate that. I'd like to see that, but also not. I would also like to see what Ms. Calvo would be formulating, presenting with regard to Commissioner Westling's question about seeing a breakdown. I like to see both done. But Gita, your suggestion would be also to grant the extension at least, because this is going to go over the 31st, is what you're saying.
I do think I think it's a little late unless you're calling a special meeting specifically on this, in 2 weeks' time or so. But I do think I don't think I agree with Commissioner Westling mentioned she's not comfortable making a decision today, and it would take us a little bit of time to do a financial model of some kind for this.
Okay, so you're okay with us, the board, making extending the deferment?
One moment.
No,
I don't think we're extending, and
No,
right now we're not extending
Well,
it.
my question is not to the board. My question is to Gita. My question is not to the board. My question is to Gita.
Oh, Gita's recommendation is not we need time to understand the terms of the request. What happens between now and that, we can present that to you. What is due in the month of October or November is really, it's your call for the month of November until there's some final decision for the going forward.
Okay, Commissioner, first of all, I'm sorry, Vice Chair, we had Commissioner Rios, you had your hands up prior to Vice Chair, so I didn't want to. So Commissioner Rios, you had your hands up.
Well, I just wanted to say that I think it's a great project that and be pretty honored if this thing becomes is completed and we are a part of this success of this project. So I'm excited about it. It's unfortunate though that they are faced with so many challenges. Feel pretty bad about that. And but I just feel like it is a hard decision for us to make, as the commissioners, to make a decision on something like this. And in good faith, making the payment was great. It was a great idea, but I feel the frustration with the other commissioners, and I feel it too as well. And it sounded like what a recommendation that maybe it sounded like Mr. Chair was hoping to hear from Gita was to give an extension of the deferment again until January, and then in all good faith that a $500,000 payment would come in January. And I think if something like that actually happened, if that 500,000 came in today, it'd be a lot easier, I think, for the commission to make a decision on how flexible we could be, and maybe have a much comfortable discussion about how to move forward. And I just don't know. I guess if this conversation happened 3 months ago, and that payment of 500,000 was something that came in this month, then I think it just gives the commission a lot more, just makes the commissioners feel more comfortable about having a discussion about trying to move forward and all the other options, as you you had explained, Ms. Calvo, on your letter, to reduce maybe the rent by reducing the space temporarily. But I just think it makes it really hard, and I feel bad about that, but it does make it hard for the commissioners to make a decision on that when we're just 2 weeks away from your deferment expiring. That's all. Just wanted to make a comment.
Very true, Commissioner Sijusmasi. Vice Chair.
Yeah, I share the same sentiments, and all I have to say is that Melody, I am in agreement with what you said. I'm in support of that, allowing her the opportunity to do a scenario payment plan of some sort, you know. And the reality is we're all suffering. Everyone is suffering right now. Construction, everything is all happening. And at least, thank you, Melanie, for allowing that sort of scenario of setting up a template of some sort of plan, you know, financial plan. Work together with Ms. Calvo. That's all I can say, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I just want to add that, you know, that's the reason why we basically have a property manager and we have Gita as financial advisors. And notwithstanding that we got, you know, practically the same financial experts on the board, that we need all the information we can get to get to a you know, a right decision. Of course, the main thing we have is that red on from the OPA. That's basically the biggest things on our mind, and the loss, of course, of the revenue. But in all, if the scenario is going to be successful, you know, in the discussions and the solutions, I'm for it. I'm for what Melanie is suggesting and Gita is suggesting too. And so even though I'm reluctant to, I'm for giving that extension so that Gita can formulate, you know, the solutions or the scenario of what we need to look at in conjunction with Ms. Calvo's numbers that Wesling's asking for. So that's just my take. Okay, I'm for it. So any other questions? Okay, no further questions. How do we move on with this? Because definitely it expires on the 31st. And if it expires on the 31st, what are the implications and what happens after that? Okay, Commissioner Cruz, your hands was up.
Yes, I did mention that they have to submit a written request for the deferment. And I also mentioned that they should have a backup on the potential, potential financing that they could get with some kind of actual commitment from the various banks if it's going to go to the banks. So, and then of course the backup that the spreadsheet on the calculator, the rents due and late payments and all that was included in today's presentation, because that, something similar to that. Thank you. So that request again has to come in front of the Senate to the board for approval.
Okay, if we my suggestion for extending the deferment for it was basically to get the information from Ms. Calvo and Gita, but not to approve the financial suggestion by Ms. Calvo and Weddingale. Northern Market is basically so that we can make a more accurate decision to allow them to gather the information that they proposed. But it's up to the board.
Mr. Chair, I know this is a very tough decision, and I understand what CEO, Gita Mendola was trying to say, that we need to get the numbers ready and so that we can make a firm decision. I understand what Commissioner Rios was saying, that perhaps if they can make the payment up front, would there be an agreement that we work on, allow Gita to work on some kind of resolution to this? But if Attorney Calvo could have Northern Market pay even a portion up front of the arrears on the ground lease, at least half, rather than the 500,000 up front, but 250,000, another 250,000 in January if we get this resolved, but at least in good faith, because what we're going to be working on right now is the audit. Believe me, it started already, although the RFP went out the OPA is already asking for our ledgers and everything else that we have. And I know we're gonna get a hit on this again, with the deferment over the last year. But it would make it a lot easier if we have something to show the OPA so he could hold back on what he's gonna write about us and in the upcoming audit. I already know what's gonna happen. We'll get the same write-up as what we got last year. But would the commissioners be open to that? And would Jennifer, would you be open to something of a medium somewhere there? Pay portion of that up front and allow Gita to work with you on coming up with the financials that can be presented to the commission. At least something showed good faith. I know the 10,000, that was nice, but then that's a minimal amount compared to what's actually owed. I'm looking for some middle ground. I know we want the project to be successful. All of us want that. But then we also have our obligations, and we're under a microscope here.
Right.
So,
And Director Birch, I appreciate you chiming in and stating that. And also Commissioner Rios, what you said as well. And that's so true. Had there been a much larger, payment, that would have made it a little more easier to discuss any future extensions or anything like that. So, at this point, taking all the comments that have been shared here today, and we are under a microscope, not only with the public auditor, but I think a few months ago, Candid News, okay,
yes.
also brought into the fact of what the commission has done for Northern Market. And I don't want to see this become a case precedence for anybody else who should come to us and end up in the same situation and base arguments based on what we've done here. And so truly at this point, I am not comfortable with granting any kind of extension of any sort. Okay. At this point, I would like to see, Northern Market and Vita moving forward on the request that we made for more information. The proposed, what Director Mendiola mentioned about Gita putting together. I forget the words you used, but what you just proposed, and then matching that up with what Northern Market can firmly commit to before I will be willing to grant any kind of extension at this point. And so, I put the onus on our tenant and our property managers to please come up with something that the board can truly consider. Thank you.
Thank you. Just real quick to respond to Director Birch. At this point, because the commitment to pay the $500,000 was, part of kind of the financing package that we were doing with the construction. I'm unable to commit at, right now. We can kind of regroup, and I can get back to the commission on kind of, a more immediate payment if that's what is necessary to consider the extension or any other conditions. However, right now, like I said, that was part of the financing that we were doing with the construction. So, I don't want to promise or promise any amount right now, but I understand that. So basically, the request is for a substantial arrears payment immediately.
What do you want?
Pending kind of resolution of the arrears and the rent modification, if any, going forward.
Director?
I believe that's Commissioner Westling. Would that be satisfactory of you if the substantial amount or payment was made while this is undergoing consideration? You're on mute, Commissioner.
I think that would give Northern Market a much stronger position if you did that. And I know, Director, you threw out 250,000, but I would like to see more if possible. But certainly something much more substantial than what's been presented.
Okay. Mr. Chair or any other
Yes.
commissioner, I know we're just trying to find some kind of a consensus here, for the meeting, for what's gonna happen. So,
Well, we're at a juncture where the 31st is just right around the corner. Commissioner Rios.
yeah.
I just wanted to say that if what is the worst case scenario that can happen between now and the end of the month or by the 1st of November? You know, to be fair and at some point, I mean, I know what is at hand, what obviously what needs to be paid, but those days are 10 days away, and I guess in all best efforts, I maybe would be nice is if maybe Ms. Calvo had maybe regrouped with her group like as early as tomorrow, and maybe had presented some kind of even a letter coming that we had something a little bit more structured that we can expect some payments in the months to come in much more substantial amounts. And I know it's going to be tough. I know it will be, but from the commissioner's side, we're trying to also have some options for you, Ms. Calvo. And I think working with Gita would be a wonderful idea. They've got a team, a great team over there that can, I'm sure, come up with a plan that we would also agree to. But I know it's all going to take some time. It's not something that can happen in the next 10 days, and then things will be well. But I'm hopeful that we can make this thing work. And I really want it to work, because I want it to work while I'm a member here, and it'd be kind of nice to be a part of something this big. So that's all I'm saying. Thank you.
Thank you. And like I said, we will regroup definitely after the call, and we'll try our best. I think what was presented was kind of the closest timeline that we could get that substantial payment. So, and like you said, I guess we just have to look also at, worst case scenario, and kind of revisit the overall plan that if, depending on the rental obligations and then how we're going to manage that arrears payment. However, if there's any possibility that we can deliver that, we'll definitely get back to the commission and to Gita as soon as possible.
Okay, so regarding this, do we have some kind of a resolution as for now, or where are we at?
Mr. Chair,
Okay, I heard a bunch of voices. Vice Chair?
whenever they're ready to present, I guess you can call a special meeting just for this particular matter before the deadline.
We will make it.
We're throwing that out to them right now.
Ms. Cowell?
Well, that would have to be, I'm just wondering with the publication requirements as well, right? I mean, that would have to definitely be by next Friday. We can.
The special meeting would be on November 2nd, based on the requirements of open government law.
Mhm.
Be
That's a
November 2nd.
holiday. That's a holiday.
Yep.
Yes. Then Thursday, November 3rd. But we have to check if Nick Tuff will be available. Commissioner Camacho, you're also the head of the CLTC. Your meetings with Nick are on Thursday. Will you be having a commission meeting on November 3rd?
We're trying to, because we were not able to meet yesterday. So we're on the 3rd.
So then it would be November 4th. That'll be Friday.
Yeah, and that's past the 31st.
Yes.
Mhm.
Either way we look at it, it'll be past the 31st
Mhm.
because the requirements of the open government law for publications.
Mhm.
I think we could, okay, just free discussion. I'm thinking we could just let it lapse without the board making a move to extend it and still deal with it when they come on. We've done it in the past with other tenants. What are the
Mostly-
implications after we let it? What are the implications if it lapses? It lapses, but they come up with a solution even after it lapses. Commissioner Westing?
I don't have a copy of the original lease agreement, but most leases go into a holding over period. With,
Okay, so
typically 30-day notice for either party, to terminate after that. But it would just go into a holding over where the current terms and conditions continue until otherwise, agreed upon by the parties.
So maybe that's the interim solution right now, without having to put the board members in
Again,
a uncomfortable
yeah.
position of extending the deferment.
Again, that's typically what happens. I don't have a copy of the lease in front of me. I don't know what provisions were made in there, but that is typically what happens.
Can we let's get a copy? Let's get a copy of those conditions on the lease, and then. It looks like what you're saying is accurate. We don't have our legal counsel. Just to remind the board, we're offering our legal counsel right now.
Yes.
But we could look at that within the next day or so and see how it goes. Because right
Yes.
now the board is not willing to give an extension at this interim stage right now.
Yeah.
So if it's a holding pattern, holding stage,
Holding over.
then a solution could be worked out within that time with Gita presenting what they have and Ms. Calvo.
Mr. Chair, sorry, I just wanted to clarify. So is the commission recommending that, or is the commission discussing the termination of the actual lease?
No, we're not.
Okay,
We're just talking about the extension. The board's reluctant to extend the deferment
Right.
situation.
No, I
Yeah,
understand
right now. Yeah. Commissioner Orlino, you had your hands up.
Yeah, okay, from what I'm hearing, if this special meeting should come about, is this to include the request for payment reduction? Is it inclusive in that upcoming if we have the special meeting? Because what I'm hearing is that they're also requesting for a payment reduction, meaning the whole lease itself.
It might, the way I look at it, it might entail that. Gita is going to formulate, the ins and outs of this, the positives and the negatives, I would think. And, Ms. Calvo is going to give us the breakdown of the payments, the catching up, and the timeline, the dates. Am I correct in that, Ms. Calvo?
Yes.
Yes, and so we're going to have those two information without having to extend the deferment, which is what the board is reluctant to do. But at the same time, it's in a holding pattern, so that doesn't mean that's it for a northern market. It kind of like fits both scenarios. So I mean, satisfies the reluctance of the board, and at the same time, this numbers and the situation of the financial conditions could be, we could get information that satisfies the board to move forward with northern market.
I'm inquiring about the payment reduction as a whole, the whole
Yeah,
lease?
we don't know that they're proposing that, but Gita's gonna put out some, it might include that, Commissioner, it might. Right now, that's what they're proposing.
But isn't that right, Ms. Calvo, that's also in that letter that you sent to Gita?
That's correct,
So-
that it was, the request was submitted in two parts, one regarding the arrears payment, and then also the reduction of the rent for
Yes.
during the construction period.
Because that was my understanding on the onset of your, when they were mentioning about your documents going to Gita, and I just want to know, okay?
Okay,
Thank
very
you.
good. Algo más. Oh, Gita, Director? We don't have legal counsel at this time, but I
Yeah,
think,
and I was reading this thing on the holding over. It pretty much gives a month-to-month tenancy upon the terms, but the actual lease is up to 20,063, 2063. So I'm trying to find a
Just
way
looking
here
into it.
without, yeah, I'm just
terms of-
glancing over it quickly.
My thoughts,
Commissioner Cruz?
my thoughts on the deduction of rent, you may have to amend the lease because, like Commissioner Wessling says, that if you lease out an apartment complex, let's say a 4-unit, and one of it is not rented, you cannot, exclude it because it's part of the lease. So that's all.
Noted. But I think what they're saying about reduction, Ms. Calvo, are you saying a reduction,
As a whole,
but still as a whole on that? And then that you're just requesting a reduction?
Well, just during the construction period. Just like I said, since we do have, since the cost of the construction to improve the property and get it fully, at least for phase one, is at least doubled for us. We were just going to request a reduction of rent during the period of construction when we are also, financing the infrastructure improvements.
Understood. How does that make sense? But how would that factor in? And this is the question for you and for Gita and everybody here. How would that factor in with the fact that we've got all these deferments for the past several years?
Okay, and I'm sorry, if you could just clarify what you mean by factor in.
How would that factor in with what I'm saying is, yeah, we're years on this already.
Right.
Yeah, but that's why I think Gita's information would probably answer my on the pros and the cons of and then the volatility of the markets, and then maybe justify why at this stage of the game, your development stage is what I mean? It's now, it's not where it should have been. So
Right.
maybe my question would be answered upon when you both give your information. So that's what I'm thinking.
Right. And
Mr. Chair, I think it's important to consider, the entirety of the lease from the time that it was entered into in 2014, what has been extended thus far, then the comments made by the OPA, and because ultimately what you want to do is come up with something that is good for the ancestral owners, and at the same time being understanding of the constraints that you're dealing with before this big project is undertaken, right? And it's certainly a cool project. It's a big project for Northern Guam. But I think that there's been quite a bit, there's been commentary made about this particular lease that we need to pay attention to and understand, and understand the comments made, the concerns that we are accountable to address, right? And so I think I've never reviewed the OPA report, and so we were thinking we could take a look at the entirety of the request, or look at the request in its entirety, so that you can decide, make a good decision at a later point. But Diego, did you have any a suggestion as to how to handle it between now and the board meeting?
Well, I mean, the board is not required to take action at this time. What we've seen in the past in the ancestral leases is that you can make decisions that can go retro. So, if in November, the commission decides that, there is no rent reduction, then Northern Market can still be liable for a full month's rent beginning retro to November 1st. So, there is a way forward, commission. So, you don't have to worry about that.
You don't have to worry about board action.
Yeah, you
today.
don't have to worry about board action today. If you give us if you were to be so kind as to, give Gita a chance to, really do a deep dive into the OPA report and compare it against Northern Markets.
The lease document, history of payments. I think the most important is the lease document, the history of payments, the concerns of the OPA, and the proposal of Northern Market going forward.
Yes, we will be able to, put together a package for you that'll be, simplified and easier to digest, I guess, and to be able to make a decision on.
And factoring the economic climate conditions during those times. Yeah. So, Commissioner Wesley, are you and Commissioner Camacho, are you both content with where we're at with that holding? It looks like that's what we're going to do on that holding information stage you mentioned.
Mr. Chairman, may I?
Yes, Commissioner Camacho.
I think it would be prudent to allow Northern Market and Gita to meet and present something for us to consider in our next board. I think that just remain the same for now.
Sorry, I'm sorry, you're breaking up. You're breaking up. You're breaking up. Sorry.
I think everything remains the same until we meet. And I think, just to be fair, personally, I feel it's okay to address this in the next board meeting and not to rush anything at this point. Just so that Gita can be thorough and Northern Market can find deep pockets perhaps and find money to satisfy us. But definitely we expect everybody to just do their best, right? So I think that for me, if I'm okay if we just take this up at the next board meeting, as suggested by, and then the rest suggested by Gita.
Yeah. Diego
I
and
agree,
Mel.
I agree with
What we'll do,
Commissioner Camacho.
I'm sorry.
Okay, we've got both agreements on Commissioner Wessling and Commissioner Camacho. Thank you. Director, I'm sorry, you were going to.
Yes, I need to know the timeline because, to give Gita enough time to sit down with Northern Market so that they can get the financials straight. I agree we should not rush this. Our next regular meeting should be, excuse me, for November 9, the day after the general election. Many of us are going to be tired. We'll be up overnight on all sides. That's the second Wednesday of November. Would you agree to give them time up to the third Wednesday of November? Or move it into later on the week?
Yes, that's even on the second meeting, I'm fine with it. That gives them way more time.
Also, November 16, would that be ample time for Gita and for Jennifer for you to work on this thing?
Yes, sir. And to be clear, Gita will not be decisioning on behalf of the Guam Ancestral so much as vetting potential options from Northern Market for presentation.
We understand. Understood. Okay, so November 16th.
November 16 at 2:30 because our vice chair has his commitment at 2 o'clock.
Okay.
Up to 2
At 2:30. So are we still having our regular meeting on the 9th?
No, we move it. That's what my recommendation is.
Yes,
to move
okay.
it and
Very good.
include this. And I promise to keep my reports to you at minimum so that we can concentrate on this.
Okay, very good. Okay, so we're in agreement. We're in agreement. Let's have it on the 16th. Thank you, Gita, and thank you, Jennifer Calvo, Ms. Calvo. So, Jus Masi.
Thank you.
I'd like to wish Diego a very happy birthday today. A very, very happy birthday.
To you.
Blessings your
Happy
way.
birthday, Diego.
Happy
Happy birthday.
Thank you so much.
Diego.
Take off your
I'm-
mask so they can see how happy you are.
I'm a ripe old 47. I mean 46. I'm a ripe old
That was a
46.
senior moment. Welcome to the club.
Still young.
Oh, and we like to
Still a
welcome back
baby,
Tony.
still a
Welcome
teenager.
back Tony too. Tony, good to see you back and healthy, my friend. Welcome.
Thank you.
So any last thoughts with this northern project? Northern Market. No last thoughts? Director, Sujus Masi, everybody. Okay, but let's move on to the next agenda. Okay, one second.
There is Molly.
Uh,
sorry.
Okay, so we're gonna move down to old business, Director.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, there is no old business listed. Next will be new business.
Okay, right now we're looking at 425. I'm looking at adjourning at 4:15, 4:45, or the latest maybe 4:50. I don't want to
Okay.
have the commissioners,
It's
you know, I mean, especially the staff of GALC any longer than,
Thank you.
know. So
well, we
I'm
already
looking-
completed A and C. Only one is
Okay.
well, I mean, B and C. The only one is A, and I could just give you a very brief on that. Keep it short.
Okay, yeah, and we don't have, it's 426, we're good to go. Okay, so let's move down to new business item. Is that
A.
A? Item A.
Yes. Okay, very short on that one. That was mentioned earlier that there was an oversight hearing. And what happened on that same time, the governor elected to use her executive privilege to transmit what we drafted here at Ancestral Lands, and we transferred to, we had several different forms of this, and she's apparently selected one. It became under her executive order, bill number 345-36.
Director, can
And-
you outline the difference
Yeah.
between executive privilege and executive order? Is
Well-
there a difference?
Well, yeah,
the-
well, she used her executive privilege to transmit the bill. If we, Ancestral Lands, decided which draft or which copy of what we were working on for the Land Bank Reform Act, we would need a sponsor at the legislature. And most likely that would be our oversight chair, and we will work closely with her to sponsor a bill for us. But the governor, being the governor of Guam, has the authority to transmit a bill under her executive privilege. And she does
Okay,
not need a sponsor, and she elected to
Okay,
do
that's
That's
clarified.
what it
Okay,
is.
thank you for
Okay,
clarifying.
but in a nutshell, without going into details, we could go over this in detail later, because I have a feeling we'll be called in for a public hearing should this bill come up for review. But in a
Okay.
nutshell, this is now referred to as the Land Bank Reform Act of 2022. There are basically three main goals. There's a lot of ways to get to it. One is
Do you
to
want us
clarify.
to follow you on the document, which one you're on?
If I were to do that, we would go into overtime.
Okay, go ahead.
It is several
Continue.
pages.
Yeah, just
Agreed,
summarize.
agreed.
I'll
Yeah,
just
just
summarize
continue.
it.
Okay,
And if you have any specific questions, I'll answer that. One is to clarify the criteria for ancestral landowners that are eligible to receive compensation. That's one of the main ones. The other one is to provide multiple funding streams. And that is outside the box from what we've been working on before, which includes annual budget appropriations from Section 8 or Section 30 monies. Those are federal monies that are returned to Guam because they're tax funds from inside the fence for
The
people using
military.
ancestral land there, and others. And the others would be to apply leases to agencies like the airport, who's using ancestral land properties in TGen to put, and we work out an agreement with them where they now start paying lease payment to the land bank trust that goes to the property owners of those properties until their claims are extinguished. That's better, Mr. Vice Chair, than getting a parking slot. So, and the third one
No,
is to
On
provide,
top of that,
on top of that, we'll try that too when we get to the land bank rules. This is just giving us permission to do this if it passes. The third one is to provide means for the ancestral landowners claim to be calculated and distributed to original landowners or to their descendants. So we place that in there too. But in a nutshell, that's what it is. It's to give us the legislative guidance to start working on this. And it's really going way outside of the box from what we've been doing in the past. And it's not just ancestral lands that worked on this. The governor sent this as a bill. That means that she agrees with it 100%. I mean, she agrees that we should get appropriations, if not all the Section 30 monies, at least a portion of it. And that she agrees that we should have GPA, waterworks, the airport, any agency out there using ancestral lands to start paying leases for those properties if they've been returned, or even if they are leased from the federal government, but they'll be used by any government of Guam agency, and if they do have heirs or original owners to it. So this is really going far and beyond what many of us thought we could get. But that's working together with Gita. I got to compliment them for putting a lot of hard work into this. And this is with Mel and her team, with Diego and their team out there working very hard with us. Of course, our team here at Ancestral Lands and with Department of Land Management. And of course, the governor's office. They put a lot of work into this. So it was very complicated. We've had so many versions of this. It's kind of hard to look back and count how many. I think Joey has a stack on his desk of all the versions that we've had. But yes, this took a lot of people. It wasn't just one person. It had a lot of input. So I give credit to them. And Diego's been back behind the scenes working hard on it all along. Well, his group up at Gita, I tell you, they've been a godsend for us, because when we've asked them, they've been there. And we've met with the original landowners. This was not thought of or made without their input. We've had 21 meetings or so with 50 or so original landowners or heirs.
Wow.
And yeah, we've had a lot of
Didn't know
meetings,
that.
and we took their comments into consideration to come up with this. So it wasn't made without their input. They did have input through these meetings. So we understand that everyone wants their property returned, and at best, we would do the best we can. We are working. Some properties that are being returned are still being returned under the old laws. Not all of them being returned are under 106-504. Some of them are being returned under 103-339, and we're working on that. But we feel that we have to get this moving. The governor wants to get it moving this year. She wants us to start working on the rules and regs. And the way we drafted this, a lot of the material that was included in the original rules and regs will be able to go with this, where we're trying to do as much as possible to provide some kind of guidance so that the original rules and regs, for the most part, will be acceptable. So yeah, in a nutshell, that's what it is. And because of all the work, those of us here in Ancestral Lands, the staff that we have, and of course those at Gita, I mean, it's more now our feeling is a bit passionate about it because of all the work we put into it. It's been some time coming, and I know I've been wanting to get this to you, but the governor beat us to it. We're supposed to discuss it today and go over it, but it's a bill now. So it's not something that we're going to vote on. It's pretty much for your information. This is what's out there. I sent you a copy of the bill, and we could discuss this further and maybe even have a work session if necessary, if there's going to be a public hearing on it. And hopefully we'll get that soon. Hopefully the senators will look at it and have an open discussion. And as all bills submitted to the legislature, I know things will probably change. But I hope we can keep most of it intact as is. It will favor the original landowners heavily, but it also opens where we can build up the land bank. Because before we're saying it took us 20 years to obtain $15 million. Well, this is way we can probably build that land bank up a whole lot quicker and take care of our people up at the Tejan Trust. There's a whole bunch of them up there waiting for payment. And then of course the people at Eagles Field, should the hospital be built there, to take care of those folks and all the others out there that are in the same situation. Because this expands and actually goes to leases that GPA may have and Waterworks may have with the federal government. It's not just Tejan. And it's not just Eagles Field, the possibility of Eagles Field. It's a whole, any government agency would be paying into the land bank who's using ancestral land, whether it is returned and they got title to it, or whether it is being leased or unlicensed by GovGuam, as long as GovGuam has control. And then there's for those behind the fence, and that's where the Section 30 money comes in. That's why we're going after that too. And the governor gave us her blessings. In fact, she submitted the bill under her authority, showing that, she supports this wholeheartedly. Of course, she's told us by much as possible, if we can work to get the land returned, that is the first priority. This is just so that our original landowners have an option if they can't get it back, because just like our vice chair, I mean, if his ancestral property is under the runway at the airport, it'll be a long time before we ever get that property back to you. But at least you get some kind of extinguishment of your claim and get payment. And so we're looking at this at basically current rates today, because if it's property that's never going to be returned, that the federal government still controls, it'll be based on when the land was taken, but based on the consumer price index and including with inflation to bring it up to current rates. And we hope that once we start this, that we put a cutoff date of 40 years to pay it off. Of course, within the restraints or constraints of our land bank trust. So yeah, this took a lot of heads to work this through, but it may not be perfect, and I know not everyone's going to be happy with it, and not everybody's going to be fully receive justice, but at least we're going to get much of it or most of it. That's what I'm hoping that this results in. So when the time comes, we will be testifying in it, and I expect our policymakers at the legislature will look at it and, of course, put their input, and hopefully we get something similar to this, or maybe this the document as presented. We already know the governor fully supports it because she submitted it as a bill. And what more can I say? I mean, once she submitted it, it means that we had her full blessing, 100% on this, and it takes care of everyone. Any comments, any questions you have? I mean, it's a lot. Yes,
I do.
Vice Chair.
Mr. Chair, I think if I don't know if I missed it, but Mr. Director, I think there was also, you failed to indicate that there's a possibility of land exchange. Am I correct?
Yes. Oh, yes. Sorry, I missed that. Yes, we were looking at, and I know Commissioner Camacho is on here. We would, because like I said earlier, remember with those other properties that we need legislative approval for land exchange? That's another thing in here, is to allow us to do land exchanges and value for value and all that. But the only one that has property that can meet that will be Chamorro Land Trust. And we don't have that. And if we try to do exchange within our land bank, I've read the Gantz report, the court decision, and what it said, that because we have already, it's part of the land bank trust where we make money from, and it's owned by all the beneficiaries, not just the TGEM trust, but others. And that's how come it's thrown as unconstitutional. But if we don't tap into the land bank trust and we go outside of that, then I feel it's perfectly legal, because we're not going to take away from the other beneficiaries of the land bank trust. So yes, it does allow for land exchange in the bill.
Yeah,
so thank you for reminding me of that.
Yeah, one more time, one more point there. And also, Director, just feeling the mode of the speaker, she's unlikely to support taking land from the Chamorro Land Trust, just to let you know.
Yeah, I'm aware of that. But hopefully she will.
Concede.
We need
I
her
agree.
support. We need her support for this.
I agree.
So we should work very closely with her to work on this and find something that will work, something that, she will agree to. But I feel our job here is to resolve this issue once and for all. It's been going on now for over 7 decades, and ancestral land's been around for 2 decades, over 22 years. And it's about time that we get this done. So, this is our
Mr. Director? Yeah, I agree. I am in support of it. But, just with regards to the hearing, all they asked us, me and the chair, was to state our position with regards to the land returns as commission members with the ancestral lands. And that's all I was saying is that, as an ancestral lands commission member for the longest time, it is our goal to return the lands to the original landowners. That was just our point there.
Yes.
Other than that, I'm in support. I'm in support of this executive privilege, and I wish it would move forward as soon as possible.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr.
and,
Director.
You're welcome. I'm just hoping, we're just, for those that would never get their properties back, because I've stated over and over that even my grandparents, they own much of Route 4 in Chalampago. I drive over that every day. They're not going to give it
Yeah.
back to us. That's like the airport. They're not going to give it back.
Yep.
So at least find a way to take care
Yes.
of those folks, right?
Yeah. Thanks for reminding Mr. Director, because I have also another lot down in Agutni. Joey's the one that found that for me. It was taken away. Also, it was condemned back by the government a long time ago. I forgot the lot number, but that's gonna be compensated as well. And that
Yes.
that reform bill will cover it.
I'm sorry, let me just interfere just for a little bit, Dispensa Joe. Right now it's 4:40. We got about, I like to at least another 5 minutes worth of, anybody has any further questions for the director? I got one question, Director, regarding the Section 30 funds.
Yes.
Okay, is that earmarked for everybody, or is that basically a certain group of beneficiaries?
Right now, I believe it would depend on how, after this is passed, then the commission's going to have to work on the rules and regs. That's where we make that decision.
Also, it's not in the bill who
No, the bill allows us to gives us guidance if it passes as written, to tap into that. And
So does the Section 30, if it does, will it go into the trust account?
Yes,
Oh, so then all the beneficiaries then would have to
it will. Yes.
benefit. Yeah, not just a
But then
certain
that's
class.
again, and then that's again, if the legislature agrees to that, because right now the legislature is the one that handles all appropriations. So if they sign this bill as written into law, then it gives us the opportunity to include in the rules and regs how we're going to use those funds.
I see. Okay,
and we would-
Diego? I'm sorry,
And
Director.
they would eventually approve those rules and regs. So that will be something that we would have to work with the legislature on again in the future.
Okay,
sir.
Hopefully soon, though. I'm hoping it comes soon.
Diego?
Yes, sir. I just wanted to just make a real quick point that, one of the things that we were trying to help the Land Bank Trust, alongside with Director Birch and Joey's, is to figure out a way, thinking outside the box as much as possible, at least for the Land Bank Trust to be authorized to receive funds, from multiple sources, as many as we could get our hands on, be it via the government agencies or Section 30, because it's, the military bases. So what we wanted to do was, shotgun approach, whatever money we can get into the Land Bank Trust is the monies that we're going to try to go for. Now, even this is just to set up, it being the Land Bank Trust being authorized to receive funds from all these sources. It's still a question of, how much of Section 30 would go into there,
Yeah.
because it's still a budgetary thing. How much of a independent agency's money would go into there, it's still in question. But what we wanted to do is at least open the door for income stream wider.
I see. So as an example, if GPA or Guam Community College is leasing a piece of property that's federal, and we recognize that there's original landowners and their heirs on that portion,
Yes.
it would be the government of Guam agencies paying
Yes.
Yes,
into the
Yeah.
trust account. They
Yes,
would
that's
have
yeah,
a certain amount of whatever to be. Okay, got it. I'm sorry, Vice Chair, you did have a comment?
Vice Chair, you're
you're-
on mute.
You're
You're still on
mute.
mute.
Yeah, just to let you know that, this bill also provides additional funding for the Guam ancestral lands to execute this law, which is very good, which will also allow more opportunities for the ancestral lands to grow with employees, equipment, and everything so that it can execute this Reform Act and this action, and which is so good, which is I like it. I'm in support of it.
Thank you, Vice Chair.
Any
I know
further
Diego and
questions?
us here with Gita and Ancestral Lands, we put so much time into it. It almost feels personal to us because
Okay,
this is a lot of work and we put too much emotion into it thinking, so, you know, we need the commissioners to look at it and see. We hope we can get everything rolled in there, and it's a matter of how we present it as a group when they do call us down for a public hearing.
Okay,
We're asking, like Diego said, for everything and see what's going to stick.
okay.
You know?
Can we get in Commissioner Alino's question? She's got her hands up real quick. We're at 4:45 already.
Yes, I motion to adjourn. You said 45, so it's already 45. It's 1:45.
Commissioner Rios? Commissioner Rios had his, okay. Okay, I guess there's a motion on the floor to adjourn. I guess we don't need a second right now. It's 4:45. So no further discussion. So Juice Masi, a happy birthday, Diego. Thank you, Melanie, for coming in and giving your testimony. So
Happy
just
birthday.
everybody, be safe. Be safe. This meeting is adjourned. Adios.
Adios. Thank you. Have a great weekend.
You too, all of you.